Let me clarify this point to put things in perspective, that there are three stages of planning of a new railway line. One is the preliminary feasibility report, then you do the detailed feasibility report, and then you prepare the DPR, which is the detailed project report. So, for this preliminary feasibility report, they engaged me as a consultant to guide their team of experts to prepare the first feasibility report, which is the preliminary feasibility report. In the preliminary feasibility report, the objective is to examine the basic the proposal. According to what MD Sistra told us was that Railway Board has approved standard gauge, so you should prepare report for standard gauge. So we started work to prepare for a prepare report, feasibility report for a line on standard gauge. But gradually, when we were having doubts about viability of a line on standard gauge, we asked MD KRDCL, "Ki you please give us that letter of Railway Board, where you say they have given approval of standard gauge." So when he could not give any such letter, and later on we found that Railway Board has not approved standard gauge. Okay. In fact, in that letter, Railway Board has said that this will be a line of Kerala government. This is also a very important point. Now, after I left, Sistra, under pressure or whatever, they change everything. They adopted standard gauge, and what is worst is that they did not, because it is a detailed feasibility report, you have to carry out all the ground surveys, geological survey, geotechnical survey, hydrological survey, because the flood prone area, hydrological survey is very important. Then you have to do environmental assessment, you have to do social impact assessment. So none of this was done. And within just about 50 days, they prepared the final feasibility report, a report which should normally take 2 to 3 years. Okay. Now in interviews, MD KRDCL is claiming that Sistra did not give us any preliminary feasibility report, which now facts show us that it is a lie, because report was given to Sistra and MD KRDCL himself gave 6-7 pages of remarks on that report. So this is very wrong thing. This is a bad conduct on part of KRDCL, because when Sistra is saying, your consultant is saying that you should revise your proposal, then the matter should have been sent to Railway Board for their decision. That consultant is saying that it should be broad gauge, and consultant is saying 2-3 other things. So you please take a decision. KRDCL can give their point of view also, but the decision has to be taken by Railway Board. They did not send it to Railway Board, and they instructed or forced Sistra to prepare report for broad gauge, standard gauge, and carry out no studies. So this is how they submitted the feasibility report, and Railway Board approved it also. It is a oversight, or they did not really examine everything. They gave in principle approval. Now that third, the final stage is the DPR. Now in the DPR also, there is no geological survey, there is no hydrological survey. The environmental impact is only a rapid environmental issue which addresses only some of the issues in a rather brief manner. And most important thing is that they did only some geotechnical survey. The geotechnical survey that they have done shows that 93% of the alignment is on very weak ground. So they are trying to ignore that the ground is weak. So this is, because of all these reasons, that you have not done any studies, you are misinterpreting your geotechnical report data. There are a lot of problems with the traffic survey report also. So all these things are making it very clear that this report is a bogus report. It should be rejected outright by Railway Board. It's not a question of somebody saying anything, but this is an important fact that Sistra also recommended that this should be on broad gauge. And I will tell you even something more also, that for Mumbai Ahmedabad also the first recommendation which was done in 2009 was also for a broad gauge line. Then for Bangalore to Chennai line also it was for a broad gauge line. But for some reason they have adopted they have decided to build that on standard gauge. Now they are trying, now Kerala is trying to, I don't know under what influence, they are also trying to build this also on a standard gauge. But now that Kerala has become a test case, Kerala has become a test case because here you have a scenario where all reports have been fudged and fabricated to somehow justify standard gauge. So it is a good opportunity for Railway Board also to take an objective and thorough review, to carry out an objective and thorough review whether India needs standard gauge or there is no need of standard gauge. What is important is that Railway Board has said that all loan will have to be repaid by Kerala government. They have also said that all losses will be borne by the Kerala government. Okay, and they have also said that our equity should be further reduced. So, Railway Board's contribution to the capital cost of this project will be very small. Maybe about 5% or 10% only. So, most of the cost of this project, as per the current scenario, is going to be borne by the state government and people of Kerala. The things are very obvious. In principle, approval should be withdrawn, DPR should be rejected, and after that, you should begin afresh with planning for a railway line. And for that, you should first take a decision whether it should be on standard gauge or on broad gauge. If on standard gauge, why should it be on standard gauge? Because we know there are many disadvantages of standard gauge. Then you should consider all these disadvantages of standard gauge. So basically, you have to do a comparative study of relative merits and demerits of standard gauge versus broad gauge, and then you have to take a decision. Okay. Not like what it has happened, that Sistra is saying that you prepare it, you should change gauge to broad gauge, and MD KRDCL without any rhyme and reason is saying that make it for standard gauge. It cannot be like this. Yeah, there are many options. One is of course that you run tilting trains. That is the least costly and quickest possible way. Then is tilting trains plus realignment of the existing line. Okay. Then third option is make it on broad gauge, new line on broad gauge. And of course fourth option is, if you want to go for it, is for standard gauge. But for that you must first take a proper decision. The problem here is that they have not done hydrological study. If you do hydrological study and you do prepare your report and your alignment and report in a scientific manner, objective manner, then anything can be done. But then if you want to make a line on a standard gauge, I don't say it cannot be made, but then it will be very costly and it will have many disadvantages. Are you ready to accept that? So, in conclusion, I will say that one thing is very obvious, that this DPR has to be rejected. In principle, approval has to be withdrawn, and then Railway Board and state government should put their heads together and decide what to do. Anyway, my advice to the state government is that you have to close down this thing, reject the DPR. You have to take action against KRDCL and the general consultant for their conduct, for their unprofessionalism, for their incompetence, for their wrongdoings. Okay, and you have to start afresh. You have to prepare a fresh plan which should be in a scientific manner and a thorough professional manner.